The Great Gatsby takes place during a time in America known as the Roaring Twenties. During this decade, America's economy was soaring. No other country in the world was even close to the wealth of America. The car industry was booming, along with many other businesses contributing to our nation's wealth. Though the Roaring Twenties brought about many great accomplishments, we have to acknowledge the harder moments of this great decade, such as the Prohibition. The Prohibition in the 1920s was a time period in which the manufacturing, sales, and transportation of alcohol was made illegal under the 18th Amendment. Though it was illegal to make, sell, and transport, the amendment failed to mention the actual consumption and possession of liquor being illegal. Secret saloons and institutes known as speakeasies thrived during this time period. Alcohol is essential to the people of America. It was used every day by everyone. The mob was vital to the distribution of alcohol in the 1920s. People who actually transported the alcohol were known as bootleggers. In the novel The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald focuses on one character who happens to make his fortunes bootlegging. James Gatz was born to a poor farming family from North Dakota. He knew just at a young age of 17 that there was more to him than farming. Not long after he changed his name to J. Gatsby, a man named Dan Cody took him under his wing. Cody was a silver mining millionaire and drunk just about every second Gatsby was with him. In Nathan A. Servo's source, The Explicator, he writes, Cody embodies a single message. America is the land of opportunity, but all the opportunities that really matter are basically criminal in character, like bootlegging. Gatsby made his wealth through bootlegging. Though he was a part of the bootlegging industry, he rarely consumed alcohol himself. Fitzgerald writes, it was indirectly due to Cody that Gatsby drank so little. He saw how alcohol affected Cody and wanted nothing to do with that sort of lifestyle. Liquor was the life of Gatsby's parties. Though the purpose of these parties was solely to grab the attention of his love Daisy, the alcohol did its job at gaining the attention of the town. Everyone knew who Gatsby was because of these parties, and alcohol was the center of it all. Everybody was drinking. When Nick arrives, even he notices it. He says, I was on my way to get roaring drunk from sheer embarrassment. Sheer embarrassment at the fact that he was the only one at the party who was remotely sober. Not only can alcohol affect people socially, but it can also affect people mentally and physically. People who are poor generally have it harder than those with good wealth. Being poor can cause a lot of mental stress, which may result in drinking. This just didn't happen in the 1920s. We still see it today in our society. Those who consume large amounts of alcohol are not entirely capable of making rational and wise decisions on their own, and we can see that through the character of George Wilson. After grieving the loss of his wife Myrtle all night, Wilson disappears the next morning. Not only is he behaving irrationally due to exhaustion and grief, but it's also suggested that he may be under the influence of alcohol. Some reports given to the police say that there was a man acting sort of crazy, and how he asked someone the way to Gatsby's house. It's a fact that George Wilson was the murderer of Jay Gatsby, and after the police reports were made, it is assumed that he was drunk when decided and acted upon killing Gatsby, and then ultimately killing himself. There are many connections between Fitzgerald himself and his characters. The main connection, though, is alcoholism. Alcoholics and alcohol appear as central characters in his writings, and specifically in The Great Gatsby. It is said that his characters were created based on himself and aspects in his life. It is also said that Fitzgerald heavily drank while writing his stories. In an article written by Ladleton, it explains Fitzgerald's troubling childhood mostly because he grew up embarrassed by his mother and alternatively proud and ashamed of his father. Ladleton also writes, Fitzgerald believed that he must find a way of inserting himself among the moneyed and influential classes, a preoccupation that filled much of his writing. This is a clear and obvious connection to the character of Jay Gatsby. Even the parties of Gatsby and the lifestyle he lived is in connection to Fitzgerald and his wife Zelda. To wrap it all up, I found a quote said by Fitzgerald that summarizes the subject of this video, the character, and Fitzgerald himself. First you take a drink, then the drink takes a drink, then the drink takes you. Authors write about things they know best, and clearly to Fitzgerald he knew drinking best. It is obvious that The Great Gatsby is a piece of art that imitates the actual life Fitzgerald and Zelda lived through characters like Jay Gatsby and the parties he hosted. place during a time in America known as the Roaring Twenties.
Roar!
The Prohibition in the 1920s was a time period in which the manufacturing, sales, and transportation of alcohol was made illegal under the 18th Amendment. Though it was illegal to make, sell, and transport